It is rather extraordinary that Mr. Modi should talk about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas a day after the Supreme Court verdict on the Bilkis Bano case. A young 21-year-old girl, 5 months pregnant, gang raped by 11 people, family slaughtered in front of our eyes in 2002 Gujarat riots. And guess what the Gujarat government does? Everyone's read about the Supreme Court judgment, I assume by now. But the Supreme Court judgment, Navika, talked about a fraud being perpetrated, an abuse of power, a usurpation of power to deny Bilkis Banu justice in such a horrible state. I mean, this is the BJP for you. And guess when they did that, Navika? On the 75th anniversary of India's independence, August 15, 2022. This is a manifestation of the political immorality at this lowest ebb since 1947. And I say so more as a citizen of a country as opposed to somebody who's part of a political spectrum. And the second point, can Mr. Modi himself personally ignore the role of the center in this entire disgusting, repugnant episode? Because the Union Home Ministry that reports into him approved that remission policy. I believe, Navika, in my opinion, this one singular instance is enough to tell the people of this country, those who have a conscience, of course, those who have some emotional empathy, of course, as to what does this political party and the government represent. I personally have been appalled, but to some extent I get some consolation because I do find a lot of people cutting across, religion and caste and regions, believing that what happened to Bilkis Banu was horrific. I do believe that the Bharatiya Janata Party has to not just apologize to Bilkis Banu, but I would have liked it if Mr. Modi, as the Prime Minister of this country, who tweets on everything under the sun, should have actually issued a statement on this as well. The Prime Minister is not some kind of a god, for heaven's sake. I'm as much a citizen as he is, as you are, as Gaurav is. But, I do believe that, Mr. Modi and the BJP can keep winning elections, no problem. But if you make this country so morally bankrupt, future generations, if not the current, will pay dear. And my second example, since, you mentioned some data.
It was too long. It was too long, a first example. So, take a breath. We'll come back to the second example. Gaurav Bhatia, please respond. The Bilkis Bano judgment takes away anything that the Prime Minister has done over the last 10 years for the minorities and for the rest of the society. Please respond.
So, Navika, I'll definitely come to the Bilkis Bano judgment. But first of all, let me stick to the topic and make a larger point. The larger point is that before Narendra Modi ji was sworn in as the Prime Minister, the M meant Muslim empowerment, not the minority empowerment. Modi ji came and he changed this dynamics. Appeasement for none and empowerment for all. And if there will be empowerment, it would be empowerment of every citizen of the country and of all the minorities. And let me give you some examples that should be given. The Muslim community, especially the ladies, are thankful to Narendra Modi ji because triple talaq, that was held to be unconstitutional, was made an offense. By whom? By Narendra Modi ji, restoring the dignity of the Muslim women. We all remember the Shah Bano judgment, when Rajiv Gandhi brought a law to nullify the judgment of the Supreme Court, where he couldn't see a 65-year-old widow getting maintenance from a court order. And now it's the Shaira Bano judgment. That's the difference. The Sikh community, again a minority, 2% minority, not a 14% minority. And we have all seen how the Kartarpur Sahib corridor has come. We have all seen that when Taliban took over Afghanistan, the sacred religious text, Guru Granth Sahib, was brought to India with utmost respect. Hardeep Puri ji as the minister was there. Coming to the Christians, just last year for the Christmas celebration, Narendra Modi ji was with the Christian community celebrating the Christmas. And you've already given those numbers, I would have also said. There is no discrimination when it comes to the state largesse. There is no discrimination when a policy is framed. Ujjwala Yojana, the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, it belongs to every Indian. That is the difference. Now coming to the Bilkis Bano judgment. I find it very strange that the Congress sympathizer sitting here who has been suspended from the party will welcome the judgment of Bilkis Bano, which I also do because she is our sister and she deserves justice. We will never question the judgment, rather we welcome the judgment. But what about the judgment which has been given in the Rafale case? Would you welcome? The Ram Mandir case? Would you welcome that? Central Vista case? Would you welcome that? Narendra Modi ji getting a clean chit from the Supreme Court? But you still talk about the riots in Gujarat without talking about the Sabarmati Express coach being burned where Hindus were burnt alive? You will not talk about that. So this is the double standard. Second,
I'll answer you.
when I see Bilkis Bano only being discussed, I have a larger question. I am reminded of Ashok Gehlot and Sachin Pilot. There were 2 lynchings in Rajasthan a few years ago of Khetaram, who was a Hindu, and Rakbar Khan, who was a Muslim. Do you know Ashok Gehlot and Sachin Pilot, and you can go to his Twitter archives and check, they only tweeted about Rakbar Khan, not about Khetaram. Why do you discriminate on the basis of religion, may I ask you? I am proud of the fact that Shri Narendra Modi ji, in his tenure of 10 years, has never ever brought in religion to identify with any person.
Fair point. Respond, Sanjay Jha.
Rather, he says, I will empower.
Yeah. Gaurav, you've spoken enough. Let others also speak.
All right. 30 seconds respond before I get in Mr. Varis
You
Pathan.
don't have to get so cheap. You don't have to get so cheap, Sanjay. I know you get disturbed by my arguments. You can still be pleasant and smile. Let's make it cordial.
Smiling.
You've lost your touch of smiling, my friend.
Yeah. So here it is, Gaurav. Hear me out. Since you talked of representation of the minorities, India has got 200 million Muslims living in our country. How many BJP MPs and MLAs, Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha, MLCs are there in the country? Give me an answer. Google it. Go to your IT cell and have an answer before the program is over. That will tell people
I will answer
where you
it
really
right away.
stand in representation. Don't interrupt me. I didn't interrupt you, right? Hang on. Point number 3. Do you know that how many months has Manipur burnt? Do you know how many people died in the Manipur riots? Do you know how many are homeless? And can you tell the Sabka Saath Sabka Vikas champion as to why hasn't the Prime Minister been there for the last 8 months? You know what? People are not blind. They're not idiots either. Please don't assume that. Don't assume that because you won elections, you have deserved the right to actually pontificate on everything as if you're God's children. You're not. You're faking people.
So are you saying, Mr. Sanjay Jha, that people who vote for the BJP are idiots? Are you saying people who vote for the BJP are idiots?
I said
Gaurav Batia responding to you. Gaurav Batia responding to you.
BJP's arrogance assume that
Gaurav Bhatia, please respond.
Okay.
For every election you win, there are more people who vote against
Now I
you
will
than
respond.
for you. Remember that.
And I'm sure Sanjay Jha will hear. Mr. Sanjay Jha, let me respond to you.
Yes, sir.
First
Want
of
me to
all, in
smile?
a
I will-
democracy, it is the will of the people which is supreme. Yes, it is the will of the people which is supreme. Narendra Modi ji has been elected by the people of the country. You may hate him, but the country loves him.
No,
and
we
let
don't
me now
hate.
talk
That is
about
your
minority
prerogative.
rights and
हम
pogrom.
hate नहीं करते
You
भैया,
remember
वो
the
आपका
1984
खेल है,
riots?
हमारा नहीं है.